Welcome to the Resilience Report, where each week we share the latest on companies engaging in inspirational solutions for our planet and engage with ecopreneurs and lighthouse leaders disrupting their respective industries in pursuit of better, more resilient business. I'm your host, Florence Scott. Thank you for joining me as we dive into this week's report. When considering sustainable solutions, many of us are quick to think about the final good or service being sold. But as we start to understand the broader impact of supply chains, certain areas are coming into focus. At the top of this list, packaging. Our next guest has spent the past decade disrupting this industry, and she and her company are impeccably positioned to lead the change as companies around the world turn to more sustainable packaging solutions. Daphna Nissenbaum is the co-founder and CEO of TIPA, a compostable packaging company in Tel Aviv, focused on supplying the food and fashion industries with better, more resilient solutions, with clients like Waitrose, Stella McCartney, Fresh Harvest, and Santini. TIPA's flexible plastic offering is truly game-changing. Before launching TIPA, Daphna was CEO of the Caesarea Center for Capital Markets and Risk Management at the Interdisciplinary Center, IDC, Herzliya. Previously, she held various management positions at SPL World Group, a provider of revenue and operations management software, prior to which she held the position of project manager at Welty Liger, located in Boston, Massachusetts. Daphna holds an MBA specializing in marketing and entrepreneurship from IDC Herzliya, and a BA in Economics and Software Engineering from Bar Ilan University. She graduated from the elite Israel Defense Forces Software Engineering program and served in the Israeli Navy Software Unit as an officer, ranked captain. Today, Daphna is leading the TIPA team in the movement to revolutionizing packaging systems and rid the world of plastic pollution. TIPA's fully compostable, flexible packaging replaces conventional plastic, turning waste into resource, a crisis into opportunity. In this episode, Daphna shares her journey to entrepreneurship, raising capital, and this is the part that I found to be extra impressive, leveraging existing machinery around the world to be able to produce locally and at scale. Certainly what we all need as part of the sustainable solution. I love speaking with Daphna, and I have no doubt that our listeners will be blown away by her story, vision, and advice to leaders everywhere. Well, welcome to this episode of the Resilience Report, Daphna. So excited to have you on today's episode. You certainly have one of the most interesting backgrounds out of any of the guests that we've had on the show. So to start things off, would you mind sharing a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you are professionally?
Okay, sure. So yeah, you're right. I'm coming from a totally different background than what I do today. I started my career in computer science. So in Israel, we serve men and women in the army. So I grew up in the army in one of the elite software units, served in the Navy, and then worked in the software industry for several years. When I wanted to change, I joined a research center on risk management in capital markets. So I was the CEO of the center in one of the private universities, the biggest private university here in Israel, of this institute for financial risks. And then when I wanted to change again, I looked for a challenge. And following discussions I had with my children and kind of similar discussions that are kind of surrounding me around plastic packaging, what do we do with the plastic packages post-consumptions, with bottles, etc., etc. I thought to myself that there must be a different solution than what we do today in packing food. And I went out jogging and I thought to myself, what would be the most intuitive way to pack food? Let's forget everything we have today. Let's say we're starting from scratch. What would we do? And the first thing that came to my mind was an apple. Because when I eat an apple and I throw the residuals to the waste bin, it just disintegrates and biodegrades by itself because this is the nature of the material. So I said, okay, so this is the solution. This is what nature did. Nature also packs. Nature packs the bananas, the nuts, the oranges, etc., etc. And nature packs with compostable packaging. So why won't we do the same? And I thought it's very easy. Let's invent this new material that will be compostable and will pack food. It wasn't easy. It's not an easy journey, but that's what we did. We actually developed new technology that on one hand emulates organic materials like nature creation, and at the same time emulates conventional plastic with all the good properties that conventional plastic brings to the packaging industry. So we managed to emulate conventional plastic and emulate organic materials and create a new material that brings those two very important properties. So today we pack food and other goods the same way as conventional plastic does, with a different end of life. So for me, the main problem of the plastic industry is the end of life of the package. What happens to this piece of plastic that I'm using now? Is it going to stay here forever? And that's what happens today. Forever can be 100, 200, 1,000 of years. It doesn't really matter. That's forever. And we want those packages not to stay here forever because that's the damage that we see. So the main problem that we had to tackle and that we were looking to tackle was the end of life of the package. We want the package to kind of vanish once we finished using it. The compostable packaging solution enables that because the package nature is to decompose and biodegrade in a very limited, specific period of time, which is up to 6 months. So post-consumption, we can discard the package into the organic waste stream, the same as we do with kitchen residuals like cucumbers, tomatoes, all other organic waste. The package will go into the organic waste with organic waste and go into compost system, either home compost or industrial compost, and will disintegrate and biodegrade and turn into a new material, which is fertilizer, within up to 6 months, as opposed to hundreds of years of conventional plastic. So this is maybe a long answer to the short question, but so my background is different. The solution came from nature, not from being a scientist, but from understanding what is the right solution, probably. And gladly enough, I can say that 10 years after, we already sell our solutions in the market. The technology works, replaces conventional plastic very nicely, works perfectly. And this is what we do in TIPA.
It's so inspiring, and it's really neat to see when nature can inspire the innovation that we end up coming up with. So I love that. Admittedly, when I think of packaging, plastic packaging, I just think of plastic packaging, but there is a difference between hard and flexible plastic packaging. Could you explain that to the average listener as to what that difference is and why you might have different kinds of packaging?
Yes. So you're very right. We think as packaging is okay. We have packaging solution, but there's so many solutions in this industry. It's there's variety and even variety within each segment. So rigid packages are bottles, jars, all those rigid packages. Flexible packaging are all those soft packages. We can think about granola bars, potato chips bags, all the snacks, fruits, bread, etc., etc. Usually, not in all the cases, but usually, sometimes, rigid packages are made from one raw material, and therefore the package can be recycled. Flexible packaging, in the majority of the cases, we need to implement few materials in one solution in order to achieve the desired properties, in order to provide shelf life and to protect the packed goods in the supply chain and for a certain period of time. And therefore, there are few materials blended in one package. So flexible packages are usually thinner, flexible, and they're kind of a few materials implemented in one package, plus the package is contaminated. And therefore, flexible packaging can hardly be recycled. The recycling numbers today anyway are very poor, but in flexible packaging, it's like less than 4% or something like that. So around those numbers, in some places of the world, it's 0%. So we can say that there's no really viable end-of-life solution for flexible packaging. And that's why in TIPA we focus on flexible packaging. So we also use a few different types of materials in one package, but all the materials that we use are compostables, and therefore it all can be composted together at the compost system. So those are the main differences between rigid packaging, and soft packaging, which are flexible packaging. And even within flexible packaging, for example, you can think about packing tomatoes or packing apples. It's different from packing granola bars. So we have variety and nice variety, a wide variety of different types of packages within the flexible packaging industry.
That is so interesting. I'll definitely look at my packaging more directly next time.
Yes.
When we're looking at the scale of waste from plastic packaging, what are we talking about globally, or especially if we talk about plastic packaging and perhaps looking at the flexible? It sounds like it's traditionally, at least, not recyclable. So do we have any idea as to what that scale is around the world?
Yeah, it's a huge scale. They're actually increasing. The numbers are above $100 billion annually of flexible packaging. The majority, like 60%, is used for the food industry. So it's a huge industry. It's a huge industry, and as the population grows, the demand for packaging grows. And we're more used to that. I mean, the way the economy works today is that food is shipped from North America to Europe, vice versa to China, etc., etc. So we definitely need strong and long shelf life protection for the goods, and that's why this industry is actually growing.
That's really interesting. And another thing that TIPA does really uniquely, or at least from my research, was that you tend to work with existing supply chain and machinery. Can you explain why that is such an important strategy, and especially in terms of scaling a business?
Sure. That's one of my of the things that I brought to the company as a CEO. I wanted to see our solution growing fast and not just connected to one factory or specific machines, etc., etc. So one of the targets that we had from day one when we started developing the technology is to make sure that our materials emulate conventional plastic and can run on existing conventional plastic machinery. So there's no need to change the supply, anything over the supply chain in order to work with our materials. So I can, proudly say today that we manufacture the films, which are innovative materials, on existing extruders. Those are the film manufacturing machines. Films are then converted to different types of packaging on the same machines, etc., etc. So throughout the supply chain, we're actually using an existing, well-known supply chain, and except adopting the temperatures and sometimes, very minor things on the machine, we work smoothly with the same yields on those machines, on conventional plastic machines. So that was a very important factor in developing our technology. That actually enables us to work with existing manufacturers, and therefore we are a fabless company. So we don't have our own machines and we don't have our own factories. We don't manufacture in Israel, as everybody thinks we manufacture in Israel. None. We manufacture today in Europe, in North America, and in Australia, both our films and our packages. And this model actually enables us to grow. We have the knowledge. We have an engineers team that knows exactly how to adjust the machines or the formulas to work on each type of machine. And so we work with local manufacturers. This model enables us, first of all, to manufacture, simultaneously in several territories. Mm-hmm. To grow with existing manufacturers. They're actually becoming our partners. So today, they manufacture conventional plastic and they manufacture our products, which actually enables everyone to grow together. It opens the market for us. And maybe one of the important benefits is that we don't ship our products from here to there. I mean, we manufacture locally. And then also reduces carbon footprint, et cetera, et cetera. So all this model is a model of, the new economy model. We use existing supply chain, whatever exists in the market, and we collaborate.
That's so innovative. I love that approach. And it allows, at a time where we need these sustainable solutions to be coming out faster and faster, it just allows that velocity to take place. So that's incredible. And as part of that expansion, I know that TIPA is also looking at geographic expansion. It sounds like there's local manufacturing, which is phenomenal. What does that process look like of expanding geographically? And are there any specific markets that you would like to share that were part of your journey?
So it's a process to manufacture in a new territory. It takes us a few months to allocate the right partners, to come to an agreement, and then run trials. Several trials until we get to a point that we say, okay, this is a certified process. So it takes from us, of course, intention and attention and resources. But today, I think we're in a good place where we manufacture with global partners in North America and in Europe was the first territory. We've been manufacturing in Europe in the last 5 years, 5 to 6 years. Recently, like in the last less than a year, we've manufactured in North America with the CNG, who is a big, important leader in manufacturing films in North America. Very glad to work with them. Very good partner. And also recently we started manufacturing in Australia, again with very important and well-known partners. Was all announced, so I can,
you can share it.
Easily share. We work with Amcor in Australia, so it's been demanding, but very rewarding at the same time. So.
And you mentioned a couple of the vertical markets or classic markets where you would use the flexible plastic packaging, especially food. It sounds like might be a leading one. Are there other vertical markets for our listeners to understand where TIPA does operate?
Yeah, so we offer, we focus on the food industry because the food industry is the number one contributor to plastic waste. So there's no question there. And we also work with the fashion industry. So packages with fashion, sometimes with a bit with the medical industry or personal care, but mainly focused on food. Plus, the food packaging is very demanding. So, in terms of the properties that are needed to pack food. So,
I'm sure the standards are that much higher when it's touching directly on food.
Yes.
Very interesting. And are there any bottlenecks that your industry sees perhaps over the next 3 to 5 years as being the real challenges that everyone will need to be focused on?
You're talking about the compostable packaging industry or the flexible?
I would say flexible, but you can, whatever direction you want to take, if it's the flexible or compostable, whatever you want to share, is to see maybe what might be some of the challenges that we'll all have to focus on together.
Yes, I think the packaging industry needs to focus on changing what we do to date. Because obviously the numbers are not good. We keep using tons and tons and tons of plastic every day, which go nowhere. There's no recycling system. There is a system, but the rates are so low that I don't think anyone can say that works. Mm-hmm. Obviously it doesn't. And we keep doing it and not adopting new solutions. So for me, I think that anyway, the packaging industry needs to go back to square one and say, okay, what are we doing in order to stop that? Are we going to eliminate packaging? One option. Are we going to work only with rigid packages that can be recycled? Second option. Are we going to move to compostable packaging, also an option, etc., etc. So there are options, but let's stop using those materials that don't take us anywhere. So that's one thing. For the sustainable packaging industry, the new materials industry, that's where we are, new materials.
Okay.
Let me just go back maybe one step backwards. The conventional plastic industry uses conventional polymers, and that's what they do. Very cheap, very available, but damaging at the same time. In order to change that, sometimes we have to go back and change the raw material, change the basic of the package. And that's what we offer, to change the basic of the offer. At the same time, get a package that we solve that. So we bring a package that is very well, can very well protect the goods and bring all the demand, whatever we demand from a package, but it's based on different raw materials that are biodegradable, compostable. So that's the third option. for us as an industry and the compostable packaging industry, we have a challenge because, first of all, it's more expensive, at least for now, because of the differences of scale. So it's more expensive, not high in the sky, but it's more expensive. It's definitely doable. And we need to see more and more companies adopting the compostable materials solutions, not just ours. And as the market will grow, pricing will go down. So
right.
it's a process. Now, for me, we're in the start of a revolution, because I believe that even if we keep closing our eyes and not looking with open eyes on what's happening, in a few times we'll have no option. I hope. And then we will be forced to use other solutions. Mm-hmm. And then, and what I keep saying is that, and then we'll see the revolution actually accelerating. But today there's an option to brands to do something else, to use different solutions, to lead this revolution, to gain points on bringing new innovation, new solutions, different than conventional plastic to the market. And that's our target as an industry.
Such an important target, and sounds like it will be a collective effort. So thank you for being part of the transformation of the industry. For some of our listeners who are tuning in and maybe are less familiar with the funding process, if you are a startup or a company that is growing and you're going to seek external funding to help you with that expansion, can you share a little bit about what that experience was like for TIPA and just how that has been part of your growth strategy?
Yes, so actually we had to fund ourselves because it's a costly process to develop a new product. Mm-hmm. Plus, we had to make sure that it's scalable. So it can run in high scale, and we kept doing this in the last 10 years or so. So we needed to raise money. We did that, as any other startup, approaching a variety of investors. I can say that it's not an easy process to raise money. It takes a lot of efforts, specifically for me as the CEO. But I can say, first of all, gladly enough, we succeeded in that front. So we raised money from very good investors that we have today. I'm very proud of our investors' portfolio, people who support us during the way, understanding that it's not software. It's not going to take 2 to 3 years to see the money back. It's a longer process. Mm-hmm. They all want to do a good thing to the world, and they understand the importance of what we do. So yes, it's not an easy process. It's you have to hear no again until the first yes comes, and then it's a bingo. It's the best investor in the world. So yeah, I can write a book on that.
You should, and I'll read it. I'm sure our listeners will read it as well. Yes. And are you working on any projects right now that you're particularly excited about and that you could publicly share?
There are a few, but unfortunately I cannot publicly share. But okay. I can definitely say that we work, we just launched new products and we work with very important partners, which I'm proud of. We have many success stories which can be found on our website and so on and so forth. We do work on specific innovation with major players, and on that I cannot talk, unfortunately. I hope that one day in the near future I'll be able to talk about that, which will really, change the market dramatically. But yeah, there's a lot going on.
I'm sure. Well, we'll all have to keep an eye on TIPA's website to see the latest news there. On a more personal note, do you remember, or was there a specific moment in time where you decided that you wanted to dedicate part of your career to sustainability? It sounds like maybe it was in speaking with your children and talking about packaging, but was there a specific moment, or was it more of a gradual process?
It's kind of, it's a process that started with that discussion and this decision, and then, keep walking in that direction. And as you keep walking in this venue, your eyes keep opening and you see more and more things and understanding of the importance of what you just started to do. I didn't know. the majority of what I know today, I didn't know at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like a mission. It's like that's what you have to do. Go and do it. That's how it feels. My life changed from the first minute I take the first dollar from first investor. That's a significant step in my life because that's it. I'm all in now. I have to do. It's not about me. It's about. It's more than about just me. And of course the company and the employers, and we are a great team, which we all want to succeed. And it's a journey of people, and that's maybe the thing that I'm mostly proud of, the team. So yes, it's not that I decided, okay, I'm going to change the world on packaging and start. It's a step by step that actually my eyes kept opening and opening more and more and understanding more and more what's going on out there and why we live under the assumption that every piece of plastic can be recycled, and it's so untrue. And then when you start to understand that, and it's so painful, there's no way back. There's no way back.
Certainly an experience of opening your eyes and then just continuing to progress through that. So that's really interesting. And as part of that journey, you mentioned at the start of the call that you started in that software world and elements of finance as well. Are there pieces from your education and early parts of your career that you still apply today? Or is it a completely new part of your career?
It's a new part of my career, but definitely the box of tools that I collected in my previous careers is very useful today. So part of it in the beginning, specifically in the army, etc. It's there's no. So you have to figure out how to change it to a yes, and that's part of the tools and the business model that we talked earlier about, the fabless, that actually comes from the software industry, and the idea in the software industry, there's a phrase of viral growth, because software you can just duplicate easily, and I want to see that happens with our solution, with our patents. So it's also viral growth within our industry, which is kind of weird to the industry, but that's part of. So I do bring knowledge and tools but many management tools and business tools from previous positions, not necessarily the technological one, but more management tools and business tools, business development.
And on a personal note, on my side, I definitely work in a male-dominated industry, and I would love if you have any thoughts on how you've navigated a more traditionally male industry as well, and what have been perhaps some of the opportunities and obstacles and how you've navigated that landscape.
First of all, I agree with you. There is I don't know if to call it a difference or a difficulty. There's something out there of being different than males. Okay, it's definitely exists. I chose throughout all my career to ignore that. So I just ignore that. I do what I need to do, and as long as I achieve what I need to achieve, it's fine. I don't care if someone treats me this way or the other way. And we talked about fundraising, etc. I'm sure it was more difficult for me than others. I know, but it doesn't matter. I keep doing what I believe in. I ignore that. I just, it's not my problem. It's someone else's problem if they decide to look at it in a weird way. So, it's always when I've been asked this question a lot. Mm-hmm. That's what I would recommend. Be the best, be professional, ignore all the rest.
I think that's great advice. And if there is a young woman, or even if you think of a young version of Daphna, if you were just to start in the sustainability space right now, what advice would you have for that young woman coming in? Is it what you were just sharing, or are there other ideas that you would share with them?
That's one thing. The second thing, believe in yourself. You know what to do. Listen to others, but eventually take the decision as you think it's the most. If you have the intuition, you have the intuition. Just rely on yourself. Don't listen to all those advices. It takes you nowhere. We always get smarter with experience, and sometimes there's no other way rather than just to experience the experience. Yes. As a young kid learns how to walk. You have to fall several times until you start really running. This is it.
That's so true. And do you have any resources that you would recommend our listeners check out that help keep you motivated and engaged? Certainly working in the sustainability space, as you said, the more you're exposed to the problem, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. So any resources that you would share with our listeners?
It's more personal resources. So, my important resource is the team, the TIPA's team. So that's, I would recommend to anyone to surround themselves with the best people whom you can treat as partners, not as employers, but as partners. And that's sometimes you feel very lonely in this journey. But if you have the right partners surrounding you, I think that's powerful and very important too. And I think that's the main thing. Same with advisors, same with the board, same with investors, people whom you can run a marathon with. That's very important. Sometimes I had to say no, for example, to an investor, and I needed the money desperately. It was about maybe closing the company, but I chose not to work with the wrong person for me, so that's people. That's the secret, because it's a journey. It's not an easy one. There are more downhills than wins. Very challenging, and you have to be surrounded with support.
I love that analogy of it being a marathon and not a sprint in terms of bringing the right people with you. If listeners would like to learn more about TIPA, what is the best place for them to go do so?
So there's the website, which is www.tipa-corp.com, tipacorp.com. I think there are many articles and materials on the web, and always welcome to approach us. So, I think there's a lot of information out there.
It is a great website. We do like to end every episode with the same question, which is, what do you think it will take for businesses and leaders to be resilient going forward?
I think it's part of what I said earlier. It's, believe in yourself, keep working on your mission. Don't change the mission because someone told you something. But if you believe in this mission, but at the same, keep doing what you are, what you got a mandate to do, and what you raised money for, and what you actually build the company for. At the same time, be flexible enough to listen and change if the change is a real need. So it's being strict and flexible at the same time. Believe in yourself, and eventually you'll get there. If it's a true mission, if it's a true thing, I believe the truth wins.
Thank you so much, Daphna. You are such a source of inspiration. TIPA is an incredible company, so I appreciate you coming on and sharing everything with our listeners today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I hope that you've enjoyed this week's edition of the Resilience Report. If you would like to hear and see more, be sure to check out @The Resilience Report on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Until we connect again, remember, even on the darkest of days, we all have the opportunity to be a lighthouse for others as we collectively pursue better, more resilient business.